Now, Erik,
It's
you
just a good feeling.
you ended at Troyes this season, but there was part of your adventure that you were supposed to go to Venezia in Serie A, and you all also had a link to Serie A earlier when you were a younger player. Juventus had come into Sporting Kansas City and said they'd pay $1 million transfer fee for you right away. Sporting, actually surprisingly, in my humble opinion, decided to turn that down, but held on to you for a little bit longer. And then you left for free, which is hilarious. But we can talk about that later. But you had a chance to go back to Serie A Venezia. But Busio's there. Tanner Tessman is there. That would have been a good experience as well. Obviously, one of the top 5 leagues in Europe. But you ended up at Troyes. Tell us a little bit about what happened with Venezia.
Yeah, no. So after the season finished, like in the summer, I went back to pack up my apartment in Austria, got on the train, headed to Venice, did my medical, did everything, was like getting ready to sign the contract. And before like we went to sign the contract, we were out to have a bite to eat, and we get a call, and they're like Erik's got something wrong with his heart. Like we can't sign him. And like
Wow.
this was the summer where like Christian Eriksen went down,
Mm-hmm.
so it was super serious, and I was like shook. I was like, "What do you mean? Like I feel fine." Like I was just super excited to like sign in Venice. There was a couple other Americans there. Like I knew Busio was coming at the time, so it was just kind of one of those things that like, okay, like can we go get this checked out? Like, and after like sign the contract, and they're like, no, if something like this pops up, we can't sign him for a whole year or something like that. And
Wow.
I was just like shook. I was like, no way. Like it all just fell through like that. So like went back to Manchester, did some testing, and everything was fine, which thank God. But at the end of the day, did all that testing, and then the transfer window was getting ready to close, and not many options were popping up. So City was like, "Well, we got this team in France. Like, we'll loan you there." And I was like, "All right, cool." Like, well, it wasn't like all right, cool. Like, I was kind of like, I was like, "Okay, you're pawning me off," that kind of thing. But they were like, "No, they really are looking for a center back." And I get there, and things didn't turn out kind of like they said. It was just the coach was like, "We didn't want you guys." Like, there was a couple other
Mhm.
City players that went there. He's like, "We didn't want you guys. Like, we wanted different players. We wanted French guys, like this and that." Which was like, it's good that the coach was honest, because usually sometimes the coach will like drag you along, like, "Oh no, like you're doing this thing." Like straight away, he was just like, "No, like we didn't want you there." And so coming to mid-season, I was kind of like, all right, I got to get out of here. Like, I'm not playing any games. And then the coach kind of got sacked, and then new coach came in and was like, I want you to stay, and kind of just staked my claim. It's been in the team ever since.
That's what's up.
Just
Wow.
like that, new
Yeah.
coach. That's all it takes.
That's
That's
great.
it.
Yeah,
It
but
literally, coaches make careers. Coaches make
Yeah.
careers, dude.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the relegation battle, because I was relegated from the Bundesliga, and it's the favorite time of year. Final 3-4 weeks of the season, everybody's watching. The most of the title races are somewhat sorted out in Europe, but then you have these relegation battles, and they're fun to watch, but they're not fun to experience. I mean, what's they're and we're obsessed with this in the US of pro rel. Everybody wants to see that because you cut your teeth and you learn all these things, which you do. But talk about the stress of going through that week in and week out, sort of the vibe that's in the locker room. I mean, I got trauma from it still, of just like going through that, like on the training pitch, in the locker room, in the town. I mean, what's your experience? What was it like?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, you're looking at other teams, you're like, to lose games, you're like if you lose a game, like we had a game at 3:30, which is usually like the first game, or 1:30 is usually the first game, and we lost. And then like we're looking for after our game, like for other teams to lose, like you're rooting for other teams to lose.
It's like youth soccer. It's crazy. Like looking at the tournament board,
bro, it's so crazy. Cause like, then you're looking like, okay, we got our next couple games were like, we had like, it went, what it go, Nice, Lille, PSG, and we're like, okay, like we need to get points before these games. And like we didn't get points before those games. We dropped points. So we're like, dude, now we're like coming up against like our toughest stretch. Like, okay, we can hopefully get some points against Lille, like at home. And we got Lens after PSG that we need to get points from too. Cause like I think they were chalking up Nice and PSG as kind of like a loss. So it was just like searching for points, and like in the locker room, like our locker room vibe was kind of like good, but like in Breda before, we were pointing fingers. Like the fans were like out to like get us. Like they like hung up a sign like, if you don't play with pride, we'll take your kneecaps. Like it's just one of those things where like the fans are dying for it, and it's a crazy situation to be in. But like now that like we're out of it, the stress is just like it's relieving. Like because at practice we get to like have a little more fun. Like we have one more game left, and like we know we're not getting relegated. So it's nice to play stress free going into the last weekend. That's for sure.
I mean,
Charlie, that sounds like Revolution fans with signs with kneecaps. Like, can we ever win an MLS Cup? We've lost 4 of these things.
Don't do that to them.
I had to put it in there. APB knows.
No, that the win versus Lille was huge, the 3-0 win. But I'm looking at next season, like you said, you're staying in a place that you feel comfortable with. You know what you're getting from your coach, from your teammates. It seems like the perfect place for you to continue to build. How do you look at next year? How do you keep your club from being in this similar position? Or do you already know, man, it's going to be a fight? We're going to finish around the 17, 16, 15, 14 range again? Or do you think you can add some quality to kind of move up the table?
Yeah, I think we can add some quality. I definitely do. I think our team in general is a solid team. I think we've struggled. Like we've been pretty good defensively, and like we can find a goal per game. We need to be more like when we get that goal, like still be on the offensive. I think we kind of like sit back and take a lot. You know, against Lons, we were up 1-0, and once we got that goal, we kind of like we didn't threaten them again. So to not have that pressure on them, not to put the pressure on them, I think that's something that we could definitely get better at as a team, and hopefully move up the table. Because next season in Ligue 1, there 4 teams just get straight relegated because they're moving to 18 teams the next season. So we don't want to be in the same spot that we're in, because we will be in that relegation battle again. So we have to do something to make our team better, to be better as individuals, to help our team push those top 10 spots. Yeah, that's for sure.
Now, Erik, I've got a question about your parent club, Manchester City. I mean, at some point, you're in the system, then they go out and sign Ruben Diaz. John Stones fights his way back into it. Laporte's starting to play more. What kind of conversations do you have with them? We've seen it with Matt Miazga and Chelsea. I mean, you guys aren't isolated. This happens to a lot of players, but do you feel like you're part of their plans, or do you just feel like you're part of the family? They're going to help you out the best that they can. I'm also friends with Julian Lescott. That's my flex of the day. And I know he's got a very pivotal role in making sure, I think he's still got the same job, right? Where he's helping out all the players out on loan to make sure that the best versions of themselves. Did he leave?
Yeah, he's with the under 21s England now.
Jimmy's not that close.
Well, clearly not as close as I want.
Hey, you guys need to have a check-in. You guys got to have a check-in.
I got to check in, man. I got to check in. I got to get that mini flex. But with regard to that relationship with your parent club, I'm actually very curious. As you get, now you're 25. I mean, at what point is there like an age? Hey, we're going to bring you back in 2 years or whatever it is. I'm sure all our listeners are curious as well.
No, yeah. For me, it felt like just part of the family. In all honesty, I think when I got there, I didn't have a work visa to play in England. Like the only way to get a work visa was, at the time before Brexit happened, was you have to play 75% of your full men's national team game for that like calendar year. And I think that's because at that time, when I signed with City, I was just coming up from the U20s, and they were just, I think, banking on that to get either that exceptional young talent rule or the 75% of the full men's team national games. And when that didn't happen, and then Brexit happened, things were like just moving about. So and then they signed, like you said, Ruben Diaz, John Stones came back. I think it was more kind of like, all right, we're going to help you in any way we can. And so that's just kind of how it's been. Relationship wise, they've always been good with like the communication. They're always checking in on you. That they have a sports psychologist, they have a nutritionist, they have all these guys checking in on you. You're always in a text message conversation, and they're really good people. But as for the fact of like being brought in, I didn't see like a clear pathway, honestly.
Did you train with that group? Did you ever train?
No, it was usually just the loan guys. We would get in, and then like if they needed a loan guy or two, like for training or something like that. But it was usually like we would have like a pretty big group of loan guys, and we'd be doing like fitness or training, and either Julian or one of the like under 23s coaches would run the training.
Can we get Pep Guardiola's phone number from you? Can we like text him? Like how does
that? I only met him once. I met him once. We only spoke about golf, and that was it.
Interesting.